program is still this morning on ITV, and we're still talking aviation today with the aviation freak, Godi Ike. But of course, we have a change in the setting this morning, and we're going to together take a guest with Mr. Godi Ike on aviation. You know, we'll be talking about aviation, aircraft leasing. We'll also be talking about aircraft maintenance for the past few weeks. And today we're going to be doing a more detailed, depth into the Nigeria Air. And we have a guest in the studio. He's no small person. He's one of the foremost whistleblowers in Nigeria. Whistleblowing policy, you remember? He's one of the foremost whistleblower in Nigeria. He was the one that blew the whistle at the National Assembly that led to the sack of the former EFCC chairman, Ibrahim Lamode. He has been doing great work in the whistle blowing. Now that the policy, there is a policy on ground, I think that network is thriving the more. I'm talking about no less a person than His Royal Highness, Dr. George Uboh. He is the chairman, George Uboh Whistleblowers Network. Welcome to our studio, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, and by my far right is your usual guest on the program, Godi Ike. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much, my dear viewers. Please welcome to the program.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll be taking the ride together, and I want to just turn to His Royal Highness now, Dr. George Uboh. The setting up of Nigeria Air. We were all happy that finally Nigeria Air will be back again, taking off by December this year. But there are so many concerns. We talk about $300 billion to be paid as 5% commitment from the federal.
No, million.
Million dollars.
Million dollars.
Million.
Yes, we paid as commitment from the federal government, just 5%, $300 million. Now, when you took a quick look into all of those issues, what did you come up with?
Yes, of course, naturally, George Uboh Whistleblowers Network being an NGO, we are to bridge the gap between the government and the people, yeah. So when anything that concerns the people, we watch and get involved. When the news hit after the show in the UK, Nigeria Air, that Nigeria paid $300 million for 5% equity stake, of course, Nigerians, there was a public outcry. And I think on July 25th, the Minister of State Aviation, Hadis Sirika, came out to say that Nigeria didn't pay any money. As soon as I heard that, and it was all over the dailies, I said, it's ripe for us to get involved. So I immediately got to work. I, of course, invoked the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the Freedom of Information Act, my letter to him, to furnish me all payments made, received, contracts, agreement, whatnot, germane to their Nigeria Air. Lo and behold, I got a 3-page letter from the Ministry of Transport Aviation. What caught my eye, actually, was that they say that there was an outline business case that had gone through approval, the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, and that a consortium of 5 firms put that proposal together that, think about $30-something million is going to be paid, for deposits for aircraft. But of course, when you say aircraft, you don't know if it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So that is a great area for us, and some money to be paid, the balance of this year for working capital, then 2019 and 2020. And it goes to talk about the fact that the federal government would put the work on ground before the investment, before the private sector would come and take over the management, that no money has been paid. So once we received that letter, we felt it was proper for us to write ICRC. So I wrote ICRC requesting the certification and what transpired between ICRC and aviation. in fact, that same day, I was quite impressed. That same day, they sent me a WhatsApp message, and they availed me the compliance certificate ICRC issued Aviation regarding the outline business case. And they said that I should go to Aviation because I really want to get my hand on the outline business case, because I have and of course I've researched the 5 consultants, the 5 firms that form the consortium. And I don't think it's proper for any firm to advise Nigeria that getting 5% constitute a national career. I mean, you don't need to be a sound business person to know that 5% ownership any business is just, to me, in my opinion, it's not a good deal. Then, of course, you go into so many other gray areas. Like I said, how many aircraft are we talking about? What about the training involved? There are so many things, but I want to go past the threshold issue first. That threshold issue is to get my hand on the outline business case, look at how suitable that proposal was and what made ICRC to find it, good enough to pass that threshold of issuing that certificate, because we can go into the best global practices. Rwanda Air, and of course, you know what happened with Richard Branson. We have people like Richard Branson that can do better. And of course, when you are representing the public interest, we can go to court and say, look, we are not fighting anybody. We just want to make sure that Nigerians get the best. And we now do what we call comparative analysis and say, this deal is not in the best interest of Nigeria compared to what we can get. And we can cite the case of what happened with Richard Branson and what he has done in other countries. And if people like that can come and, give us something better, of course, you have different kinds of, that is where the expert comes in, whether it's dry list or wet list. Yeah. So we leave that to the expert to advise us too, because you see, with what we do, we are, NGOs, but we have our experts too. And as Faith would have it, Faith brought us together, and he's just, kudos to him. I mean, listening to him, watching his videos, talking to him, even the recommendations he has brought forward, quite robust. And these are people we need to really, consult. Do you understand what I'm saying? I end most of my shows by saying that Mark Carney, the governor of the Bank of England, is not even British. He's Canadian. We need to get the best. Forget where somebody's from, forget any religious or sexual orientation or whatever. Get the best out of, so that we can move forward as a country. And put square pegs in square holes. Yeah. The button has been passed.
Sure. Doc, you're welcome, to this program that comes every Monday. Something is bugging my mind, and I want to go straight to raise these issues. And yes, the business outline case, formerly known as OBC. The ministry, talked about putting down 300 million. Right. And from the breakdown, they are saying to us that a deposit of $25 million US dollars will go for aircraft. And of course, like you rightly pointed out, aircraft is an uncountable noun in English language. It doesn't take S. And so that makes it quite tricky. Are we looking at 1 aircraft, 2 aircraft, 10 aircraft, 5, 20? How many airplanes?
Nobody knows.
Are we looking at? Keep that in mind as I break them down further from information available to me at the moment. Now, they are also talking about taking off in December, isn't it? Okay. First week of December. Yeah. And yet, they posted that they will be needing 30 million US dollars for working capital in 2018 218 ends on the 31st of December. The airline is going to be taking off first week of December. So barely 30 or 31 days, as the case may be. And then we need a working capital of $30 million for 1 month. Keep that in mind, because you're going to let us know how you help this nation get out of this tough situation. Then again, a projection was said to have been made for 2019 for working capital of $100 million US dollars. Now, I'm just wondering, if we would do 30 million for 1 month, mathematically speaking, whether you do a linear projection or what's the other one, or the other type of mathematical projection, that they talk about, the figure is not fitting in. It's not, in my opinion, it's not making sense, but maybe you are going to make sense out of it for us. And finally, they are saying that by the year 2020, we will be needing 145 million US dollars. Dr. Uboh, tell us something. Are these figures making sense to you?
Of course not. I mean, when you actually juxtapose even the figures, of course, they're going to hide under the facade that it's just a proposal.
Okay.
Nothing has been paid. So we have to be very careful about that.
Okay.
I think that is why certain questions need to be answered. If you have not paid this money and it is at the proposal stage, why the whole fanfare of going to London to lunch? I mean, we all are business,
And also giving us a specific date for takeoff.
For takeoff, and you have not paid. And if you have not paid at this point, like you rightfully said, you're supposed to take off in December. Do you understand what I'm saying? So now, when you now look at the private sector, you are saying that you are going to give up 95%. You are going to be funding it. Now, when you juxtapose, actually look at everything, what sense does it make?
Okay,
now the 95% that the private sector is supposed to take, what are they to do for 95%? If I'm going to, let's look at, I am a government, forget Nigeria, a government, any government. I'm putting up $300 million. I'm getting 5%. You are the private sector. You are going to get 95% just to run it. It just, to me, it's just very moronic. So that is why the ICRC needs to protect us. I mean, you need to look at this and say, that is even the angle I'm coming from now. That is the threshold matter before we even talk about, how does it sound?
Oh, let me do a devil's advocate here.
And then if you how does it sound? So even if it's a proposal you have not paid for, does the proposal sound right?
Okay, can I do a devil's advocate here and then see what sense it makes?
Yeah.
What if the intention of government is to have a going concern on the table, have it running, and then call on investors to say, hey, we have this beautiful bride. It's up and running. Can you pick it up? Now, remember, professionally, I am a licensed estate surveyor and valuer. And everything that's got to do with valuation, you've got to talk to us. I mean, I'm talking about talking to me and my professional colleagues. And best still, those that have very clear knowledge of this awesome machine called airplanes, like I do. Now, assuming the government is thinking this way, we'll put out 300 million for all this breakdown that is being given to us, get this going concern going, then get some valuers to value what we have as a going concern, and then tell our investors, this going concern is worth $800 million US dollars. We need 800 million US dollars, and then we pass on, or rather, 95% of it is worth 800 million US dollars, and that's what we need. And then the investors take a look and say, okay, it looks good, and put down 800 million. Wouldn't it be that the government is now making a profit of $500 million for just a few months of activities? I mean, I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
I don't agree with you.
What do you think?
No, it doesn't really fly, because you see, everything you are doing at this stage is contractual.
Okay.
I think that is where my legal sense comes in too.
Wonderful.
So you cannot, at the middle of a business, change the goalpost.
Mm-hmm.
So if you already said, and I have the letter here, that they use the phrase that Nigeria will get maximum of 5%.
Okay.
So the private sector, of course, they're not going to come for 95% without signing any document with you. Yeah. So once that is signed off, that they're going to get 95%, I don't see how you, the government, will now come and say you want to sell us, bring in more people to to value and sell. You can't call the shots anymore. I think that is the exigency of the dilemma where we are. That is why I'm rushing to get this done. So if we have to go to court, we go to court, because I know that once it passes this stage, we get to the point of no return. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you are now, from what I understand, the timeline of the ICRC, now that they've done giving the compliance certificates for the outline business case, the next phase is to get the bidders. The private sector to now bid and come in and get the whatever 95%. And once that happens, bye baby, there's nothing we can do.
Okay, now I'm just beginning to think if a 5% would mean you have to invest about $300 million, then a 95% should be talking about billions, which should be brought in by the
but that is the thing. Then, the 95% doesn't even talk about if they're going to bring any money. He's just saying that they're going to manage
the government still has to,
so they say
invest about 30 million US dollars by 2018. You talk about 100 million. Is it talking about
the lump sum the government will bring out from now to 2020 is $300 million. Let's get that right. Me? But what they are saying, I have the paper here.
Would you permit me to read?
So read that point where it talks about.
No, I can run through quickly, very quickly, so that our viewers can see what we're being told. Here is from Federal Ministry of Transportation. This is addressed to the chairman, George Uboh, Whistleblowers Network, 11 Non Street of Danube Street, Maitama, Abuja. Request to furnish information on Nigeria Air pursuant to Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 and the Freedom of Information Act 2011 within 7 days. I am directed to refer to your letter dated 27 July 2018 on the above subject and provide the following information on Nigeria Air as requested. Number one, the national carrier Nigeria Air is one of the key projects in the aviation roadmap approved by the President for implementation through public-private partnership PPP. Number two, the outline business case, OBC, prepared by a consortium of firms that serve as transaction advisors for the project, have been certified by the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC. It goes on to say in number three, the estimated funding requirement for the project based on the outline business case, OBC, is $300 million US, which is a mere proposal. Broken down as follows. A, deposit for new aircraft. Tricky. We are yet to know how many airplanes involved. US dollar, 25 million US dollars. Working capital for 2018, US dollars, 30 million. Working capital projected for 2019, 100 million US dollars, and working capital for 2020, 145 million US dollars. I guess this is all giving us the $300 million in question. Right. Then number 4, it says the outline business case is presently being considered by the Federal Executive Council in line with the requirements of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, Act 2005, and National Policy on Public-Private Partnership, NFP. Number 5. The funding requirement for establishing the airline will be borne by both government, that is a public partner, and the strategic investment partners in line with the principle of public-private partnership, PPP. Number 6, government intends to provide the viability gap funding as specified in the OBC in paragraph 2 above for the startup of the airline. Although government, number 7, although government intends to hold a maximum of 5% equity share, the value of the shareholding will only be determined upon valuation by investment experts and approval by relevant authorities. Number 8, strategic investment partners will be expected to build upon whatever the government is able to put on ground and also be in charge of the management of the airline. And then number 9, the strategic investment partners will be procured through a transparent competitive bidding process. And number 10, presently no agreement or contracts have been entered into in respect of the Nigeria Air, and no payments have been made or received. Please accept the warm regards of the Honorable Minister of State Aviation. Signed, Stephen Okon, Director 2, Planning, Research and Statistics for Honorable Minister of State Aviation. That is the response.
Yes.
That this is a full. You must know that ITV is the first in this whole world to release these documents.
Yeah.
Okay. ITV remains the first.
Exclusive.
It's exclusive.
Okay, so now,
Courtesy of Aviation in the morning.
Okay, now, if nothing has been paid according to the letter, no contract has been entered into, and we're still talking about starting Nigeria Air by December, what do you think? What comes to your mind?
Exactly. So these are the gray areas I'm talking about. You cannot say you want to kickstart an airline first week of December, even the end of December. We are now in September. You have not paid any monies.
No
It
contract
has not been approved. It has not been approved by FEC. All we have is, as you say, is a proposal, outline business case. So I mean, definitely you can. I don't think we can make it. You know, knowing all the what you need to put in place.
Except whether being told the truth by the letter.
Exactly. So that is why we need to see that outline business case. The letter, in my opinion, it's not really giving us the total picture of what has happened or what is currently happening. But I'm glad I've been able to get some information from ICRC, and they've been quite, forthcoming. But we need to get that outline business case. And there's a part you read there. You're talking about, I think after the breakdown of the cost, it talks about something's going to be born out of I want you to repeat that.
The outline, after the course, then that's the number 6.
Yeah.
The outline business case is presently being considered by the Federal Executive Council in line with the requirements of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, Act 2005, and National Policy on Public-Private Partnership. And 5, or rather, that was number 4. 5 is saying the funding requirement for establishing the airline will be borne. Yeah. Is that the one you're looking for?
Will be borne.
Okay. The funding requirement for establishing the airline will be borne by both government as public partner and the strategic investment partners in line And the word partners actually is written first as singular with an S, in parentheses, indicating that the investment partner might be one,
or there's a possibility that more than one.
Singular, two, right?
That's correct, because that's the meaning of the language, the letter here. So we're talking about strategic partner or partners in line with the principle of public-private partnership, PPP. 7 says...
So hold on there.
Okay.
There is an ambiguity.
Okay.
The ambiguity is this. The previous paragraph, you already talked about the money or monies that the government will pay. Now, down below, you are saying now that the government, that is the public partner, and the strategic investment partners, that the cost is going to be borne by both. Can you reconcile what they're saying?
It's at conflict.
Yeah, it's at conflict.
Yeah.
So this is an area too that we need to look into. You cannot tell me that the federal government will pay $300 million and you have broken it down, what they will pay down for the aircraft.
From 2018
then after that, you are telling me again that the federal government and the private people are going to bear the cost. There's a conflict.
Now, do you sincerely think that a good job has been done here, either by the Ministry of Aviation or by the ICRC or let's say the federal government itself?
Well, you know, I attended the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies,
in Kuru,
yes. And that was in 2008. We found out that a lot of policies in Nigeria ab initio, there are loopholes that will make the policies, what they call policy somersault. Okay? And this is a typical example of it. Look, as tense as the US and North Korea relationship has been since the Korean War, when Trump met Jong-un in Singapore and they signed the MOU, within 20 minutes, George Uboh in Abuja here downloaded the agreement. So there shouldn't be any secrecy, even what I'm seeking. What is the big deal? I'm talking now MOU between two world leaders. All the indictments handed down in US against the Russians, against Manafort, hours after the indictment is handed down, I'm printing it here in Abuja. So we shouldn't be kept
in the dark.
In the dark.
About what is happening.
That is what roused me about this country. There's nothing.
The world
here.
is really moving very fast.
Yes.
I didn't need to be in physical contact with him to have the material in my system.
Exactly.
He mentioned, I asked, and in a minute he was with me.
Everything going on in the ministry, the departments, the agencies, as it's going on, we should be having access to it. In fact, when you look at the Freedom of Information Act, very robust act. It's just that they're not keeping to it. That is why I give kudos to ICRC. It says that you have 7 days to respond. But because people are going to hide under the fact that, oh, it's going to take us time to prepare. For instance, I've written Ministry of Finance since last year. They said they're still making photocopies. They said, make sure that on your platform, you keep these records routinely so that when it's time to comply, you wouldn't hide under the veil that you need time to get the documents ready. For instance, when I wrote ICRC, they sent me a WhatsApp message, said, go to our website. Everything you are seeking is there. However, they still sent me the thing.
That's right.
Because it's readily available. But when you hide these documents, you don't put them on your website or your platform. When it's time to release it, because what you are doing is ill-conceived ab initio. If you don't have anything to hide, you should make it available.
And I can tell you, when he contacted me on phone and made mention about these activities of his, and I asked him, Doc, are you sure you've got these papers you're talking about? He said yes, and I said, can I have copies?
And you got
Gabriel, in 3 minutes,
you got the copies.
I had them flowing into this system.
Okay. Time is no longer out.
Right.
We're short of time here, but I think we're going to consider. We are definitely going to continue from here. next time. You know, when you must have gotten details.
Oh yeah, even today we have a victim.
Gotten a reply to your
we are on this. We are on this fully.
So that we know where to go to, because if the foundation is faulty,
yes,
you know,
yes.
the whole
as we say in law, you can't. As we say in law, you can't build something on nothing.
On nothing.
Yes,
it's going nowhere.
Remember our last program on Nigeria Airways. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. I think viewers should actually go to my blog www.aviationfreaks.com and type in on the search Nigeria Airways. And you see everything that you need to know. We can't go that direction. We can't afford it as a nation. Nigeria Air must work.
Okay, we've been talking for the past 30 minutes with His Royal Highness Dr. George Uboh. He's a chairman, George Uboh Whistleblowers Network, the most famous whistleblower in the country, and he's been doing a lot of work here in public interest. I must say that. And thank you so much, Dr. George Uboh.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me.
And we hope you continue all in the interest of Nigeria.
His Royal Highness.
Also, yes,
thank you.
And also the Aviation Freak, God, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you.
And that's where we close the interview segment on the program now. I will now take a quick break. When we return, the program this morning on ITV continues. Stay with us.
As you wake up in the morning, the first